8 signs your relationship is out of sync and how to respond with Stoic wisdom. There are moments in a relationship when you're physically together, yet your hearts beat to different rhythms. This doesn't always have to be the worst-case scenario. Instead of jumping to conclusions, let's look directly at the reality. What's truly out of sync, and what can we do right now to address it? This video will reveal 8 clear signs your connection might be drifting, and more importantly, equip you with the calm, respectful, and deeply Stoic wisdom to navigate these challenging waters. Welcome to Stoic Love. Here, we don't engage in blame games. We don't succumb to unchecked emotions. Instead, we choose calmness. We define clear boundaries, and we commit to taking the right, purposeful action. Our goal is to empower you to approach your relationships not with fear or accusation, but with a grounded, clear-eyed wisdom that honors both yourself and your partner. We believe that true strength lies not in control over others, but in mastery over your own reactions and choices. Our community is built on the principles of reason, virtue, and resilience, guiding you to build connections that are both profound and enduring. Let's begin with a fundamental truth that underpins all healthy relationships. Trust is the bedrock, and clarity is its constant companion. When clarity falters, when trust begins to erode, even subtly, the most stable connections can start to feel shaky. It's like a ship on calm waters suddenly encountering an unseen undercurrent. Everything appears fine on the surface, but a deeper force is pulling it off course. Our journey today is not about finding fault, but about finding focus. It's about recognizing the subtle shifts, the quiet signals that indicate your relationship might be drifting, and then applying timeless Stoic principles to gently, yet firmly, steer it back towards harmony, or, if necessary, to help you chart a new, more honorable course. We'll delve deep into each sign, exploring its nuances, providing relatable examples, and, most importantly, arming you with actionable Stoic wisdom. This isn't about fostering suspicion, but about cultivating awareness and empowering you with the tools to act with integrity and wisdom. 1. Persistent unease and lingering intuition. Idea. Your intuition is a powerful internal compass, a deeply ingrained warning system that often senses shifts before your conscious mind can articulate them. It's crucial to listen to it, but equally important to verify its signals with reason and observation, rather than letting it spiral into unchecked anxiety or paranoia. This initial gut feeling, if unexamined, can become a festering wound, eroding your peace of mind from within. Stoicism teaches us to scrutinize our impressions, those initial thoughts and feelings, before accepting them as truth. Elaboration. Many people dismiss intuition as mere irrationality, especially in relationships where we are often encouraged to be less suspicious or more trusting. However, intuition isn't about baseless accusations. It's the subconscious mind processing a vast array of subtle cues, micro-expressions, shifts in tone, changes in routine, nuances in body language, and delivering a summarized alert. It's like your body's internal alarm system going off. If smoke detectors only went off when a raging fire was visible, they would be far less effective. Similarly, intuition is designed to signal smoke before there's a full-blown fire. The danger lies not in having intuition, but in either ignoring it completely or, conversely, allowing it to dictate your actions without rational verification. The Stoic path is one of observation, not immediate reaction. Consider the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. He often reminded himself, and implicitly, us, to not be carried away by the rush of perception, but to return to reason and to question that impression. He knew that initial feelings, while powerful, could be misleading if not examined through the lens of logic and calm reflection. Imagine him, at the end of a long day of imperial duties, feeling a subtle disquiet about a certain decision or person. Perhaps the senator's words seemed too eager, or a messenger's report lacked a certain ring of truth. Instead of immediately reacting with anger or suspicion, he would pause, step back, and meticulously review the facts, separating the emotional impression from the objective reality. He might ask more questions, seek corroborating evidence, or simply observe the person's behavior over time. His intuition was a starting point, a valuable alert that something needed further investigation, not the final destination for judgment. He understood that acting solely on raw feeling could lead to injustice or error, which goes against the Stoic virtue of wisdom. Lesson. To apply this Stoic lesson in your relationship, we encourage a practice of 7-day intuition journaling. For 1 full week, commit to observing moments when you feel that vague sense of unease or persistent intuition about your relationship. The key here is mindful observation, not impulsive judgment. In your journal, note down, when did I feel this unease? What was the specific context? What was my partner doing or saying, or not doing, saying, at that exact moment? For instance, you might write, Day 3, Tuesday evening. Felt a knot in my stomach when she said she was working late again, even though it's been happening more often. My mind immediately went to negative scenarios, but objectively, she just looked tired. No specific reason for the feeling, just a vibe. Another entry might be, Day 5, Thursday morning, felt a pang of sadness when he left for work. He used to kiss me goodbye. Now it's just a wave. My intuition says distance, but maybe he's just stressed. The goal here isn't to confirm your worst fears or to indulge in speculative scenarios, but to identify recurring patterns. Look for consistency over fleeting, isolated moments. Is the same vibe triggered by the same type of behavior, day after day, or across multiple days? If your intuition is consistently triggered by similar behaviors or situations across several days, then it merits a calm, rational conversation. You're moving from a vague feeling to observable, repeated data, just as a Stoic would systematically analyze a problem before acting. This disciplined observation allows you to separate what is merely an impression from what appears to be an objective fact, empowering you to approach the situation with reason, rather than allowing anxiety to take the lead. If you're finding these insights helpful and want to develop more practical strategies for applying Stoic wisdom to your daily life and relationships, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Love. We provide new exercises and reflections every week to help you cultivate inner peace and build stronger connections, grounding your relationships in reason and virtue. 2. Avoidance of intimacy and daily micro-connections. Idea. A decrease in physical or emotional closeness is a significant indicator that something is amiss. While it often stems from understandable factors like stress, unresolved conflicts, or differing needs, it's a signal that requires attention. It's not just about grand romantic gestures or sex. It's about the small daily touchpoints that weave the delicate yet strong fabric of intimacy, the subtle threads that hold a connection together. When these micro-connections diminish, the overall relationship can feel starved, leading to a sense of distance and longing. Elaboration. Intimacy, in its broadest sense, is about deep connection and vulnerability. It manifests in various forms: a shared glance, a hand on the arm, a genuine laugh at a shared joke, an honest conversation about fears, or simply the comfortable silence of being truly present with another. When any of these forms of intimacy begin to wane, it's like a plant receiving less and less water. It doesn't die immediately, but it gradually withers. Often people mistakenly focus only on the grand, dramatic forms of intimacy, overlooking the cumulative power of the small, consistent acts of connection. Yet it is these everyday micro-connections that are the true lifeblood of a healthy, vibrant relationship. Their absence creates not just physical distance, but an emotional gulf that can feel isolating and confusing. Real life. Example. Consider the case of Mark and Sarah, a couple who had been happily married for years. They both worked demanding jobs, but always prioritized their evening ritual, a shared dinner, a quick chat about their day, and a hug before bed. This routine, though simple, was their bedrock. Recently, Mark took on a new project that required him to shift his work hours significantly, often returning home much later. Sarah, too, was under immense pressure from her own job, leading to increased stress and longer hours. The result? They were both utterly exhausted by the end of the day. The casual touches, the shared jokes, the lingering glances, the evening debriefs, they all began to diminish. Sarah found herself retreating into her phone for solace and distraction, and Mark, too tired to engage, would often fall asleep on the couch while watching TV. This wasn't about deliberate betrayal or a lack of love. It was about two well-meaning people, under significant stress, unknowingly creating a chasm in their daily micro-connections. The problem wasn't a lack of affection for each other, but a lack of conscious effort to maintain the rituals that fed that affection. Their bodies, tired and stressed, naturally avoided the effort required for deep, intimate connection, leading to a palpable sense of distance and a yearning for what was lost. They were physically present, but emotionally absent from each other's intimate world. Lesson. The Stoic approach here isn't to demand intimacy, which is largely outside your direct control, but to proactively create the space and opportunity for connection to naturally re-emerge, focusing on what is within your control, your actions and initiatives. Implement a 10-minute connection ritual each evening. This is a sacred, non-negotiable time, meticulously carved out from your busy schedules, completely free from all distractions, no phones, no TV, no laptops, no work-related thoughts allowed. Just you and your partner, truly present with each other. During this brief, focused period, ask open-ended, non-judgmental questions like, how was your day truly? What was the best part? What was the most challenging? Or, what's one small thing that made you smile today, even for a moment? The goal isn't to solve complex problems or to engage in heavy emotional labor, but simply to be present, to listen actively, to make eye contact, and to offer a non-judgmental, accepting space for sharing. This small, consistent, and intentional effort creates a renewed pathway for emotional and even physical intimacy to naturally flow back into the relationship, addressing the underlying issue of disconnection rather than merely observing its symptoms. It's about building a consistent habit of connection, knowing that initiating and maintaining such habits is entirely within your power, thereby restoring a sense of order to your shared life. 3. Abrupt schedule changes, lacking transparency. Idea. It's not the fact of being late that necessarily erodes trust, but rather the consistent lack of clear, proactive communication about such changes that slowly, insidiously, grinds down the foundation of reliability and security in a relationship. Transparency is a cornerstone of trust, and its absence even if unintentional, can breed suspicion and resentment. Elaboration. In any partnership, a certain level of predictability and reliability is essential for comfort and trust. When one partner's schedule suddenly becomes erratic, and these changes are not communicated clearly and proactively, it creates a void. This void is often filled by anxiety, worry, or, in more advanced cases, suspicion. It's not about controlling another person's time, but about respecting the shared understanding of a life together. For example, if a partner usually arrives home by 6 p.m. and suddenly begins arriving at 9 p.m. several nights a week without any prior discussion or explanation, the being late isn't the primary problem. The issue is the lack of transparency that leaves the other partner feeling uninformed, disrespected, or simply confused about the new reality. This lack of communication signals a diminishing regard for the other person's peace of mind and shared planning. The Roman philosopher Seneca, another pillar of Stoic thought, might have warned us against the chaos that arises from a lack of clear order and communication. He suggested that disorder comes from that which we do not control. Order comes from our habits of clarity and transparency. Imagine a Roman merchant who consistently failed to inform his customers about delays in shipments, perhaps due to unforeseen storms or bandit attacks. Soon, even if the delays were entirely legitimate and unavoidable, his reputation for reliability would crumble because of his lack of clear, consistent communication. His customers would grow anxious, then frustrated, then seek out other merchants. The absence of information breeds suspicion and undermines trust, regardless of the underlying truth of the situation. In a relationship, this translates directly to schedule changes. It's not the change itself that's the issue, but the suddenness, the lack of explanation, and the feeling that information is being withheld, leaving the other partner to fill in the blanks, often with negative assumptions. Lesson. The Stoic response is to take control of what you can control, which includes initiating an open discussion about expectations around communication, and then consistently upholding your end. Implement a simple, mutually agreed upon transparency agreement. This isn't a strict interrogation designed to catch anyone out, but a shared commitment to keeping each other informed and respecting each other's peace of mind. The agreement could be as straightforward as, if you anticipate being late, please send a quick text or call as soon as you know, even if it's just a rough estimate like, I'll be home around X time, and a brief confirmation message when you're actually leaving. The key is clarity and consistency, not perfection or minute-by-minute updates. This habit of proactive communication, a discipline within your control, and an act of good faith, removes the space for suspicion to grow and actively reinforces the understanding that you both value each other's time, feelings, and overall peace of mind. It's about managing expectations through effective and consistent communication, a very Stoic practice of acknowledging what you can and cannot control. You can control your communication, and you can invite your partner to control theirs, fostering a more ordered and predictable shared life. 4. Withdrawal from shared spaces and emotional closeness. Idea. When someone emotionally closes off, withdrawing from shared physical or emotional spaces, like avoiding eye contact, sharing less about their day, or literally retreating to another room and closing the door. It's a potent signal of fatigue, unresolved hurt, or deep emotional overwhelm. This is often a coping mechanism, a way to self-regulate or protect themselves from perceived further harm, rather than necessarily a deliberate act of malice. Elaboration. Healthy relationships thrive on a constant flow of emotional exchange. Partners share their victories, their frustrations, their fears, and their dreams. This creates a sense of shared space, a communal ground where both individuals feel safe to be vulnerable and understood. When one partner begins to withdraw from this space, it can feel like a sudden drop in temperature. Conversations become superficial, eye contact dwindles, and physical proximity doesn't translate to emotional closeness. This withdrawal might manifest as spending more time alone in a separate room, or being physically present but engrossed in a device, or simply offering one-word answers to questions about their day. It's a sign that an emotional barrier has been erected, and the reasons for this barrier need to be understood, not just observed. Example: think of a couple, Alex and Ben. They'd always had a vibrant, talkative relationship. After a particularly heated argument about their finances, during which Alex made some sharp, critical remarks, Ben, feeling deeply overwhelmed and hurt, retreated to his home office and quietly closed the door. He stayed there for hours, absorbed in work, effectively creating a long silence between them. He thought he was simply giving himself space to cool down, to prevent saying something he'd regret. Alex, however, feeling rejected and ignored, interpreted this withdrawal as Ben punishing her, stonewalling her, or even silently judging her. She saw the closed door as a physical manifestation of his emotional closure. This withdrawal created a profound chasm, not because of malicious intent on Ben's part, but because of unaddressed emotional needs, unhealed wounds from the argument, and poor communication strategies for dealing with conflict. The emotional door was closed, just like the physical one, creating a cycle of misunderstanding and hurt. Lesson: the Stoic approach here is to acknowledge that you cannot control your partner's actions or emotions, but you can control your response and your initiative to create a pathway for healthy, structured communication. Institute a 24-48-hour dialogue window after any significant disagreement or period of emotional withdrawal. This means agreeing in advance that within 24 to 48 hours of an emotional retreat or argument, you will both commit to a dedicated conversation. This isn't about immediate confrontation, which can often be counterproductive when emotions are high. It's about allowing a cooling off period, followed by a deliberate, reasoned attempt at reconnection. When you do engage, use a structured communication framework like this. When X happened, objectively describe the event, e.g., when we discussed the budget last night and you went into your office. I felt Y. State your specific emotion, e.g., I felt unheard and, honestly, a bit abandoned, which made me anxious. And I need Z. Express a specific, actionable need, e.g., I need to feel like my concerns are acknowledged and that we can find a way to resolve conflict together without retreating. This framework, a disciplined practice of emotional expression, moves you away from blame, accusation, or interpretation of motives, and towards mutual understanding and concrete solutions. It ensures that emotional wounds are addressed constructively, not left to fester in silence or compound into deeper resentment. It demonstrates your commitment to the relationship's well-being and your capacity for rational, compassionate engagement. If you agree that open, structured dialogue is the most honorable and effective path forward, comment below with "I choose dialogue" to remind yourself and others of this powerful Stoic practice of courageous communication. 5. Excessive defensiveness or blame projection. Idea: when individuals are grappling with guilt, shame, fear, or deep-seated anxiety that they cannot or will not acknowledge within themselves, they often resort to aggressive defensiveness or disproportionate blame. This isn't usually about you as the recipient. It's a desperate, unconscious attempt to protect their own ego and deflect their unbearable internal discomfort outward onto others. It's a classic psychological defense mechanism known as projection. Elaboration. Projection is a complex psychological phenomenon where one attributes their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or impulses to another person. In the context of a relationship, if one partner is feeling guilty about something, perhaps a secret, a lapse in judgment, or even just an unacknowledged frustration, they might subconsciously accuse their partner of the very thing they are struggling with internally. For example, if someone feels they are being dishonest, they might accuse their partner of dishonesty, even without evidence. The defensive reaction is often disproportionate to the perceived slight, characterized by sudden anger, accusations, or a refusal to take any responsibility. This creates a deeply confusing and frustrating dynamic, as the recipient of the projection feels unjustly attacked and bewildered by the intensity of the reaction. Epictetus, the freed slave who became one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, famously said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their view of them." Imagine a student who, despite ample preparation time, cheats on a test, driven by a deep-seated fear of failure. When confronted by the teacher, instead of admitting guilt, they might lash out with indignant rage, accusing the teacher of being unfair, biased, having set an impossible test, or even of singling them out. The teacher's objective action of confronting the cheating isn't the true source of the student's distress. It's the student's own guilt, shame, and paralyzing fear of being exposed that causes them to project blame and anger onto the teacher. In a relationship, if your partner suddenly becomes overly critical, inexplicably irritable, or disproportionately defensive, especially when there's no clear, rational trigger for such an intense reaction, consider the possibility that they are struggling with an internal conflict, a guilt, or an unacknowledged fear they're unwilling or unable to confront directly. They're making you the event they can blame, rather than facing their own view, their own actions, or their own internal struggle. They're trying to externalize an internal problem. Lesson. The Stoic response to projection is not to engage in a futile battle for who is right or wrong. That's a manipulative game you cannot win, as it diverts attention from the real issue, and it only serves to escalate conflict and further entrench defensiveness. Instead, respond with calm, unshakable equanimity. When faced with an irrational attack, pause. Take a deep breath. Recenter yourself in the present moment, acknowledging that their outburst is a manifestation of their inner state, not necessarily an accurate reflection of you or the situation. Instead of defending yourself against the unfair accusation, try a gentle, empathetic, yet firm redirection. You might say with genuine curiosity and a calm tone, "I hear your frustration, and I want to understand what's truly going on. What is it that you're afraid of losing right now?" Or, "It seems like there's something much deeper bothering you than just this issue we're discussing. Can we talk about what's truly on your mind, beyond this immediate argument?" This powerful approach, rooted in Stoic self-control, shifts the focus from winning a destructive argument to understanding the underlying fear, guilt, or anxiety, which is precisely what the projection is attempting to hide. By refusing to engage in the blame game and instead offering a safe, non-judgmental space for genuine vulnerability, you uphold your own dignity, maintain your inner peace, and create a potential pathway for true connection and resolution if your partner is willing to take it. You control your response. You do not control their projection. 6. Sudden yet inconsistent affection. Idea: a sudden surge of affectionate behavior, particularly when it feels out of character or disproportionate to the recent emotional landscape of the relationship, might not always stem from renewed deep connection or genuine romantic feelings. It can sometimes be a compensatory mechanism driven by unacknowledged guilt, a desperate need for emotional reassurance for themselves, or an unconscious attempt to mask deeper emotional distance and prevent challenging conversations. It's often sweetness to compensate, not genuine, profound emotional intimacy. Elaboration. Healthy affection usually flows organically from a place of genuine connection, shared experiences, and mutual respect. It's consistent, authentic, and feels integrated into the overall emotional dynamic of the relationship. When affection suddenly spikes, especially after a period of distance, conflict, or unexplained absence, it can feel jarring. It's like a sudden burst of sunlight after days of clouds. Beautiful, but also a little suspicious if there's no logical reason for the change. This kind of compensatory affection is often an attempt to re-establish emotional equilibrium, either within the giver to soothe their own conscience, or externally to manage the recipient's perception and prevent them from asking difficult questions. The key differentiator is its inconsistency. It's a dramatic gesture that doesn't quite align with the overall pattern of the relationship's recent emotional state. Example: consider a couple, David and Emily. They'd been going through a particularly rough patch, with Emily often working late, becoming emotionally distant, and frequently preoccupied with her phone. David felt a growing sense of loneliness. Then, suddenly, after several days of minimal contact and emotional distance, Emily came home one evening with an expensive, unexpected gift for David, lavished him with effusive compliments about his appearance and accomplishments, and initiated passionate physical intimacy. David, initially relieved and hopeful, felt a nagging unease beneath the surface. The affection, though seemingly wonderful, felt almost too intense, almost too performative, and it didn't quite match the ongoing emotional distance and lack of genuine shared connection they had been experiencing. When he gently tried to talk about their recent challenges or his feelings of disconnect, she subtly but firmly deflected, changing the subject or reassuring him that everything is fine now. This wasn't a genuine, organic reconnection. It was a sweetness to compensate, an attempt to soothe her own guilt, to make amends without actually addressing the underlying issues, or to prevent David from asking deeper, more probing questions about her recent behavior. The sudden intensity lacked consistency with their recent reality, creating a feeling of imbalance rather than true harmony. Lesson. The Stoic approach here is to look beyond the surface gesture, however pleasing it may initially feel, and gently inquire about the underlying need or motivation. Instead of simply accepting the sudden affection at face value, which can leave you feeling confused, manipulated, or even more deeply entrenched in denial, bravely and calmly ask about the true need driving the behavior. You might say, with genuine curiosity and a non-judgmental tone, "This affection is lovely, and I genuinely appreciate it. What is it that you're truly hoping for or needing from me right now, at this moment?" Or, "I appreciate your gestures. Can we talk about what truly feels good and nourishing to both of us, beyond these immediate acts of affection?" This encourages a deeper, more honest conversation about authentic needs and desires, moving past superficial gestures. Then, rather than relying on grand, inconsistent displays of affection, which are often unsustainable, propose small, consistent, and repeatable actions that genuinely foster ongoing connection and shared intimacy. For example, you might suggest, instead of a big gift, which is wonderful, how about we commit to having coffee together every morning for 15 minutes, truly present without any distractions, for the next week? This shifts the focus from emotional theatrics or compensatory gestures to building sustainable, authentic connection through shared, deliberate habits, something a Stoic would wholeheartedly endorse as a virtuous and rational pursuit. You control your request for clarity and your commitment to genuine connection. If this section has touched a nerve, or if you know someone who might benefit from a calmer, more mindful approach to navigating relationship challenges and discerning true affection from compensatory gestures, please share this video with them. Sometimes, a little Stoic wisdom can help prevent impulsive reactions and foster deeper understanding. 7. Low emotional presence during shared time. Idea. This sign describes a profound and deeply unsettling experience. Your partner's physical body may be present in the same room, at the same table, or even in the same bed, but their mind, their spirit, their true emotional engagement is noticeably, painfully absent. This creates a profound sense of loneliness and isolation, even when you are physically close, making you feel like you are in a relationship with a ghost. Elaboration. We've all experienced moments of distraction, but this goes beyond that. This is a consistent pattern where, during shared activities or conversations, your partner seems detached, preoccupied, or simply not there. Their eyes might glaze over, their responses might be perfunctory, or they might constantly be checking their phone or finding other distractions. They might be physically touching you, but their energy feels miles away, as if their thoughts are with someone or something else entirely. This emotional absence drains the vitality from shared experiences, turning what should be moments of connection into hollow performances. It's a powerful signal that their emotional resources are directed elsewhere, or that they are deeply disengaged from the present moment with you. Lesson. The Stoic lesson here is profound and powerfully liberating. You cannot control your partner's attention or emotional presence, but you can absolutely control your own. Your focus should be on embodying presence yourself and creating an inviting space for it, rather than demanding it from another. Introduce the 1% presence rule for yourself. This isn't about setting an impossible standard, but about committing to incrementally increasing your own quality of presence by just 1% each day when you're with your partner. This could manifest in numerous small, actionable ways. During dinner, turn off the TV, put away your phone, and truly engage in conversation, even if it's just about the meal or a simple observation. When they are speaking, make direct eye contact, nod to show you're listening, and resist the urge to interrupt or formulate your response until they have finished. During a quiet moment, instead of reaching for your phone, simply sit with them, observe your surroundings, and allow for comfortable silence. In moments of physical proximity, be mindful of your touch. Let it be intentional, not just habitual. The goal isn't to force your partner to be more present, as that is largely outside your direct control and can lead to resentment. Instead, it's to model authentic, engaged presence yourself, to create an inviting, emotionally available space for connection, and to reclaim your own attentiveness to the moment. This disciplined practice not only improves your own peace of mind, as you are focusing on what's within your control, but also provides clear, objective data. If your partner consistently fails to meet you in that space, despite your consistent and genuine efforts to create it, it provides powerful, undeniable data for you to reflect upon and decide on your next course of action. You are acting with integrity, controlling your sphere of influence, and clearly discerning what kind of emotional engagement you are truly receiving. 8. Discrepancy between words and actions. Idea. True commitment, genuine intent, and authentic priorities always leave discernible traces in the tangible world. In calendars, in budgets, in shared plans, in the history of communication, and in observable behaviors. When words, especially promises or stated intentions, consistently diverge from observable actions, it reveals a fundamental misalignment that cannot and should not be ignored. This is where rhetoric meets reality, and reality often exposes the truth. Elaboration. In a relationship, we often rely on what our partner says they will do or how they say they feel. We trust their declarations of love, their promises of change, or their stated commitment to shared goals. However, words alone are insufficient. As the Stoics understood, true virtue is demonstrated through action. If a partner repeatedly says they will prioritize the relationship, but their calendar remains packed with other commitments that exclude you, if they claim to want to save money for a shared future, but their spending habits remain impulsive and self-serving, if they promise to be more present, but their phone remains glued to their hand during every shared moment, these are discrepancies that scream louder than any spoken word. This isn't about expecting perfection, but about observing a consistent pattern where intentions, however well-meaning they might sound, fail to materialize into tangible, supportive actions. Lesson: the Stoic approach is to move beyond vague promises and towards measurable, verifiable commitments. When discussing future plans, addressing a problem, or agreeing on needs, propose measurable agreements. Instead of simply accepting a vague, feel-good statement like, "I'll try to spend more time with you," gently guide the conversation towards something concrete and observable. You might suggest, "That sounds wonderful. How about we make it specific? Let's commit to a 15-minute walk together every evening at 9 p.m., at least 5 out of 7 days a week, starting tonight. Does that sound achievable for you?" This anchors intentions in concrete, verifiable actions and creates a clear metric for both of you to observe and assess progress. It shifts the dynamic from relying on potentially empty words to building a shared reality based on deliberate, accountable actions. This approach is profoundly Stoic because it focuses on what is within your sphere of control, proposing clear agreements, and provides a rational framework for evaluating reality, observing consistent actions. If these small, measurable commitments are consistently broken, despite good faith efforts to implement them, it's not just a sign of forgetfulness or a minor lapse. It's a clear and persistent indication that intentions are not translating into actions, and that's a pattern that demands a serious, calm, and direct conversation. You are seeking verifiable reality, not just comforting words or fleeting assurances, staying true to the Stoic pursuit of truth and living in alignment with what is real rather than what is merely hoped for. The Stoic dialogue framework. Use this tonight. When you decide to address these observations and concerns, approach the conversation with a calm, structured, and respectful dialogue, deeply rooted in Stoic principles. This isn't an interrogation, an accusation, or a confrontational attack. It's an invitation to clarity, shared understanding, and collaborative problem-solving. This framework ensures you communicate your truth without blame, fostering an environment where a genuine response is possible. 1. State the event, objectively without accusation. Begin by describing what you have observed, focusing strictly on factual, verifiable behaviors or events, not on your interpretations or assumptions about their motives. Avoid "you always" or "you never." Example: 2 weeks ago, we agreed to take a 15-minute walk together most evenings. I've noticed that we haven't been able to do that more than twice since then, and lately, we've talked less after dinner. Avoid: you've been ignoring me and breaking your promises. 2. Share your feelings, your internal experience. Express how these observed events make you feel, using I statements. This is about owning your emotional response, which is within your control, rather than projecting blame. Example: when I see these patterns, I find myself feeling a bit disconnected, confused, and honestly, a little concerned about us. Avoid: you make me feel distant and worried because you don't care. 3. State your specific need, what you require for well-being. Clearly articulate what you need to feel more secure, connected, or respected in the relationship. Keep it focused and actionable. Example: for me to feel more connected and secure, I need us to consistently have that 10 minutes of dedicated device-free connection each evening and to follow through on our shared commitments. Avoid: you need to change your whole life and be more present. 4. Propose a clear, actionable agreement, a collaborative path forward. Suggest a concrete, small, and measurable step that both of you can agree upon to address the need. Make it easy to start and verify. Example: would you be willing to genuinely try that 10-minute connection ritual and our 15-minute evening walks consistently, starting from tonight at 9:30 p.m. for a 7-day trial run? We can check in next week to see how it feels. Make it small, manageable, and time-bound, inviting collaboration rather than imposing a demand. 5. Set a calm, dignified boundary, your commitment to self-respect. This is perhaps the most crucial Stoic element. It's a statement of your commitment to your own well-being and your understanding of what you are willing and unwilling to accept. This is not a threat, but a calm declaration of self-respect and the consequences for you if the situation remains unchanged. It emphasizes what you will do rather than what they must do. Example: if we're not able to consistently maintain these small, agreed-upon efforts after 2 weeks, and the patterns continue, I'll need to calmly and respectfully reevaluate how we're truly being together and what that means for my own well-being and the future of our connection. My tranquility and self-respect are paramount. This isn't a threat of leaving. It's a statement of self-care and commitment to your own peace, acknowledging that you control your response, not their actions. You are asserting your internal order and limits. If you agree with the power and integrity of this Stoic dialogue framework, demonstrating calm strength and clarity, please hit the like button. This helps the algorithm send more practical, wisdom-based content your way, empowering you to navigate life's challenges with virtue. When is it time to consider letting go? Stoicism does not preach infinite endurance of suffering, particularly when that suffering is caused by circumstances outside your rational control and consistently harms your tranquility and virtue. It teaches you to discern what you can control and to act accordingly, letting go of what you cannot, especially when that letting go preserves your most precious inner faculties. There are clear indicators when, despite your most virtuous Stoic efforts, it might be time to calmly and respectfully consider moving forward, understanding that true wisdom knows when to persist and when to withdraw. Consistent lack of behavioral change. After good faith dialogue, 2 to 4 weeks. You have diligently done your part. You have engaged in open, honest dialogue, used the structured Stoic framework for communication, and clearly expressed your needs and established your boundaries. You have patiently given a reasonable amount of time, e.g. 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the severity and nature of the issue, for your partner to genuinely try and make discernible changes. However, if, despite these efforts, there's no observable, consistent shift in behavior, if the words are there, the promises made, but the actions remain stubbornly the same, it's a profound sign that your efforts are not being met with reciprocal commitment